full-back. Then it's Carl Price. He's the younger brother of Leon. Paul Johnson, Shontaine Harpy, formidable in the centre. Stuart Reardon coming in. So two new wingers for Bradford. It's Leon Price and Paul Deacon at half-back. Forwards, Joe Banganar, Aaron Smith and Stuart Fielden. Rob Parker preferred to lead Radford, who finds himself on the bench. Jamie Peacock captains the side in Robbie Paul's absence. And Logan Swan, he continues his rehabilitation in this Bradford team. And confirmation of the substitutes for you now. Paul Anderson, Lee Radford there, Langley, Jamie Langley and Chris Bridge. And the coach is Brian Noble. Now the men from Hull, and it's Sean Briscoe at full-back for them. And this is where the late change comes in, because Richie Barnett Sr. was due to play in the centres, but he's gone down with the flu. So Richie Barnett Jr. plays on the wing. Colin Best moves into the centres to partner Kirk Yeaman with Gareth Rayner, who has also had some surgery on a troublesome tooth this week. He's not been feeling too clever either. Paul Cook is the skipper alongside Richard Horn. And then the forwards, Gareth Carvell getting the nod ahead of Paul King, who finds himself on the bench. Richard Swain and Ewan Dowes. Paul McNicholas and Shane McMenemy, the second rows. And it's Chris Chester who's the loose forward. And substitutes for Hull, Paul King, Peter Lupton, Richard Whiting and Danny Hill. The coach is Sean McRae, who has never won here at Odsal before. Is this going to be his night? Well, notable absentees for the Bradford Bulls, Robbie Paul and Leslie Vinacolo. Why are they missing? Quite simply, they were in the New Zealand team that took on the Australians. I hope you saw the match with us live on Sky Sports earlier on today. Let's bring you the highlights right now.
It was the first ever Trans-Tasman Test to be staged in Newcastle, and a capacity 21,500 were at the Energy Australia Stadium to witness what was expected to be a convincing win for Australia under their new coach Wayne Bennett. And with friends like this, who needs enemies? Nathan and Jason Kalis going head-to-head, and it was Nathan who was out of the game for New Zealand. But the Kiwis certainly started as though they meant to spoil Bennett's return to the international stage, with a try from the former Warrington player David Kidwell. Australia hit back, and it was a good job Anthony Minicello got to the line, or questions would have been asked about his willingness to part with the ball. Bradford's two representatives in the Kiwi side, Robbie Paul and Leslie Vinacolo, were showing well, but the Bulls skipper's involvement was cut short by a ferocious but fair tackle from Danny Badeiras. Paul was led from the field but returned later on in the game. The other Bull left on the pitch, then marked his return to the Kiwi side with a trademark try in his first international for 4 years. The response from the Kangaroos was instant. Matthew Gidley's kick sat up perfectly for Tamana Tahu, and that made it 10-all. New Zealand should have regained the lead when Clinton Torpey burst through the Australian defence with supporting players to his left and right, but inexplicably he failed to give the pass, and the Kiwis wouldn't get a better opportunity. Right on half-time, Darren Lockyer nudged his side ahead with a 40-metre drop goal, making it 11-10 at the break. In the second half, a fine tackle from Brent Tate denied Vinacolo a try, and it proved to be crucial because 5 minutes later, Tate held off Torpey and put Australia 15-10 up. They started finally to get a grip on the game. With David Vialicki out injured, the Kiwis had switched Nigel Vanganer to full-back, and he had a nightmare game. This error presented Lockyer with a simple try. It was another Vanganer error that led to a scrum on the New Zealand line, and from there Craig Gower scored with ease. The penultimate Kangaroo try really summed up New Zealand's afternoon. Francis Melly losing the ball as he returned a kick, and Michael De Vere had an easy run-in. A late try from Michael Crocker wrapped up the Australian victory, revenge for last year's defeat in this fixture, but New Zealand will point to those injuries to Robbie Paul and Nathan Kalis, and a string of costly errors.
There were costly errors, but the Australians just simply too good. They're warming up in style for the Tri-Nations which comes up, of course, later on in the year after Super League has been done and dusted for 2004. Well, the lack of Robbie Paul and Leslie Vainicolo in this Bradford Bulls side tonight means that there are one or two chances for some lesser lights, some unknown faces perhaps. Bill Arthur is on the sideline. He'll tell us a bit more.
That's right, Eddie. Bradford have always prided themselves on their production line here, a bit like the Leeds Rhinos, and now is the time for those young players to get their opportunity. And one of them, 17-year-old Carl Price, younger brother of the established Leon Price, but if anything, Carl is a bigger prospect, and in a physical sense, more than anything, he's a couple of inches taller at 6'6". He's a stone heavier at 17 stone, and they might be without Leslie Vainicolo and Tavita Vaikona, but you know, with Carl Price on the wing, he's going to be making up a pretty good effort to replace them tonight, and I'm sure he'll do a very good job. We just saw the hit that Robbie Paul took in that Trans-Tasman test when Danny Badiris clobbered him, and happily Robbie did come back on, but I think the news from Australia is not good. Anyway, Brian Noble has been on the blower to find out.
He's got a bit of a headache, but I think the injury, you know, that more concerns is he's turned his ankle over. Contrary to reports, we don't think he's broken it, but he could be out for a few weeks.
I suppose when you were watching it this morning, you were thinking, why did we let him go?
We didn't have much choice. If we had any choice, we might not have done, but you've got to let the players play for the country, and you know, it's great to see Les back in a black and white jersey, and Robbie's very, very proud Kiwi, and he would have done himself justice had he been now there long enough.
Are you going to miss them tonight? I mean, you must miss them tonight.
Yeah, you always miss world-class players, as we'll miss Toa and Tavita and Carl Pratt, but you know, we get on with it. We're going to go with what we've got. We're still an exciting team. We're looking forward to this game.
And Hull, a dangerous side despite their record here?
Yeah, I think you can rip the record books up now. Sean's got them buzzing. They're playing a lot of confidence. They've got a lot of footballers in their halves. You know, they've got 3 or 4 different combinations in their halves. A lot of movement off the ball, in and around their ball, and some exciting ball carriers on the fringes. So it all adds up to a tough day at the office for us.
Thanks, Brian.
There we go, Brian Noble talking to Bill Arthur. Now then, the other fixtures in round 8 of Super League 9. Tonight's match, Wakefield against Leeds, 8 o'clock at Bellevue. Scorelines from Bellevue during the course of this game here. And Saturday's match features Salford City Reds and Paul Cullen's Warrington Wolves. 6:05 kick-off at the Willows. It's live on Sky Sports 1 from 6 o'clock. And then the fixtures as they shape up on Sunday. Widnes against Castleford, 3 o'clock at the Halton Stadium. Massive match that for both Widnes and Castleford, who begin life without Graham Steadman, sadly. And Wigan against London at the JJB Stadium at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And don't forget, you can keep up to date and find out all the news you need about everything rugby league on our website, www.skysports.com/boots and all. And I'm sure we'll also have some news on there about the Challenge Cup semi-final, which takes place on Sunday afternoon at Warrington between St Helens, I beg your pardon, and Huddersfield. Well, a few minutes ago, Ian Smith, the referee, came out with the coin. It was tossed by Jamie Peacock, and Paul Cook was doing the calling and now doing the talking because the two skippers are with Bill.
Jamie, quick word. Several guys missing tonight, but any change in the way the Bulls go about business?
No, we're a bit same as usual. There's some good young lads come in, and I'm sure it'll be a good game for us. We'll play quite well.
And do you feel that there's a bit of room for improvement? You haven't really hit your straps yet this season.
Yeah, definitely. There's always room for improvement, and hopefully we'll do it today.
All the best.
Cheers, Bill.
Let's bring Hull captain Paul Cook in. And Paul, this hasn't been a great venue for Hull in recent years. Anything to suggest that you can maybe upset the form book tonight?
Yeah, I think we've trained well all week, and we're going to every game hoping that we can get a result, whether it's Bradford, Saints, Leeds or anybody else, whether it's home or away, so hopefully we can get a job done tonight.
All the best.
Cheers, Bill.
Paul Cook, local boy, who is captaining Hull FC here at Odsal, and there's a prize on offer this evening as well as the 2 points, but of course the watch that goes to the man of the match, and that's waiting to go home on the wrist of the Star Turn this evening, and our friends in the British media will make that decision. Now, talking about prizes and medals and everything else, we must say at this point many congratulations to our Phil, because he ran the London Marathon last week. 3 hours 15 minutes and hundreds of thousands of pounds raised for a very good charity.
Yes, I did it with a group of celebrities from the TV Times, all in aid of leukemia research, and I must confess it was a horrendous experience. It's been almost a week now and I've just about recovered, but maybe I'll have to have a go at it next year. I made the silly mistake of setting off far too quickly and died at about 13 miles, but anyway, I got there in the end.
Well, and you've got something to keep as well, the medal. Well done, and congratulations from all of us on Sky Sports, all our viewers as well, and I hope you've raised a ton of money, have you?
Yes, it's been very successful, and people down at Leukemia Research are very grateful for everybody who's helped, and I must thank all the people who've helped me as well along the way with the funds.
Well done, Phil. Congratulations on that. Now, he talked about setting off a little bit quickly on Sunday morning and running out of puff. I think that Hull have got to set off quickly, haven't they, Paul, tonight? They've really got to get stuck into Bradford.
Have to send a message and send it very early, and can't sit back and defend against this side in this stadium. Got to come and play football. They have talent enough to do so, but I just wonder whether they can do it for the full 80.
Well, Bradford pointing to all these players who are missing, injured and on international duty. Hull will have none of that, of course, Steve, because they've got their own quintet of players who aren't here, the likes of Jason Smith. We haven't seen him yet this season, you know, but
Look,
this could be the night for them.
Yeah, it could be, but it's going to be very, very difficult. It always is when you come here to Odsal Stadium. But the thing about the Bradford side is that, yes, there have been disruptions with playing for your country and, of course, with the injuries. But the one thing they do have, they've got a settled pack. Nobody's missing from out of that one. They're not called the Bulls for nothing, because I think that Brian Noble will say to them, look, we will try to bully the opposition. They've been doing it for quite some years now. If they can do that and they can just break through psychologically against this whole side, then I think it's going to be a pretty long night for the Black and Whites.
Well, it's always a pleasure to come to Odsal, always a big crowd whenever we are here, whenever the Bradford Bulls are playing their rugby league. Tonight is no exception. Fantastic out there on terraces, and a lovely mild evening as well for us to enjoy the first real hint that we have had lately that summer is on the way. So it's the Bradford Bulls against the men from the KC Stadium in Hull. Bradford against Hull, two vital Super League points at stake. Bear in mind also Leeds playing tonight just up the road at Wakefield. We'll keep tabs on that as well. But next, all the action from here live.
Sound is information, which is why every BMW is engineered to give the right sound at the right time, so the driver always feels in tune with the car. Intelligent thinking from BMW.
A free CD featuring Franz Ferdinand, Kings of Leon, Elbow and the Libertines. Tomorrow with The Guardian.
Come all ye sailor men and listen to my plea. When you've heard it, you will...
With 13 airlines flying to over 1,000 destinations, the membership rewards program can take you to the ends of the earth.
I think I blinked again.
Seriously?
Yeah.
On the first day, my barge came home from sea.
Dave. Larry. How is that Dell consolidation going? TCO's down. Uptime? Highly available. Great. And you? Well, you know, we're still running a proprietary-based system. Right.
A Dell flexible solution with Dell Power Edge servers and Intel Xeon processors could help manage your enterprise for less. Easy as Dell. Go online today.
Which is the odd one out? Billy the Kid, Butch Cassidy, Kevin, or Deputy Doc?
Kevin?
Correct. The other three are cowboys. We're the ones with the training academy qualifying us to install new boilers. So cowboys, we are definitely not.
Deputy Dog technically isn't a cowboy, he's a sheriff.
Well, he's got a blinking gun, hasn't he?
British Gas, doing the right thing.
For protecting things you hold precious, Cuprinol takes care of it.
A Season of Opera on DVD is a collection of the most famous operas. Enjoy memorable performances from the greatest voices and conductors in the comfort of your own home. Part 1 includes booklets and 2 DVDs, La Bohème starring Pavarotti and La Traviata with Georgiou and Scholti. And it comes at a fantastic price.
Let the next era begin.
It all starts right here. Live only on Sky Box Office. Vitaly Klitschko takes on Corey Sanders. Two of the biggest punchers in boxing fight it out to become the new heavyweight champion of the world. The Men Who Would Be King. Sunday morning at 2 a.m. Sky Box Office. See Channel 770 or call 08705 800 888.
The Bradford Bulls Kiwis are missing, plus the likes of Tavita Vaikona and Koa Koilove out for the rest of the season. But Hull will point to the absence of Prescott, Logan, Egar, Jason Smith and Richard Fletcher. Third place, fifth in the Tetleys Super League. It's been a busy old week in the competition. Let's get up to date now with Rod Studd.
Leeds Director of Rugby Darryl Powell has emerged as the bookmakers' favourite to succeed Graham Stedman as coach of Castleford. Hull assistant John Keir remains a front runner, but the Tigers won't be rushed into making an appointment.
It is the most important position at any Super League club, and we'll want to get the best man we can, and the best man, the man that we feel can take us on from here and get us back up.
And after Tony Anderson's sacking by Halifax, Brad Davis is favourite to take over the reins at the Shea. The Rugby League's investigation into the betting allegations surrounding St Helens players Sean Long and Martin Gleeson has continued this week. The club have confirmed that both players, if fit, will be available for selection in this weekend's Challenge Cup semi-final against Huddersfield. Wakefield will be without star halfback Jamie Rooney and forward David Wrench for around 2 months after both players suffered similar injuries in the win at Castleford. The Wildcats duo have broken bones in their legs.
Both Jamie and David have worked very hard. They do a lot of extra work to improve their game, and Wrenchy's been in tremendous form this year, probably the best he's played. And Jamie's been playing well, and he's a key member of our side. So it's disappointing for both those guys.
But some good news for Wakefield. Michael Korkidis has signed a new 3-year deal at the club, keeping him at Bellevue until 2006. Salford have confirmed the signing of Manly centre Kevin McGuinness until the end of Super League 9. He's expected in the country next week.
He knows where the try line is. He's very quick and he's a genuine strike player, and that's what we needed, and that's why we brought Kevin on board.
And finally, French club UTC must wait until next month to discover the fate of their bid to join Super League in 2006. After a split ballot this week, member clubs will stage a final vote on May the 26th.
The Bradford Bulls, third in the table. No Robbie Paul, no Leslie Vainicolo. And they're facing a Hull side who scored their last victory at Hodsall exactly 10 years ago, April 1994. They won 32 points to 30. The Bulls line up like this. With us at fullback, then it's young Carl Price, Johnson, Harpy, Reardon, Leon Price and Deacon. In the forwards, Vanganar, Smith and Fielden, Parker, Peacock the captain and Swan. And on the bench for Bradford, Anderson, Radford, Langley and young Chris Bridge. The coach is Brian Noble. Now Hull, Briscoe at fullback. Barnett Jr. on the wing. Senior Barnett has the flu. Colin Best fills in for him in the centres. Yeaman and Rayner, Cook, the skipper and Horn. And the forwards, Carvel, Swain and Dowes, McNicholas, McMenemy and Chester. And the substitutes, King, Lupton, Whiting and Danny Hill. Coach Sean McRae. Well, one wag has already pointed out to me tonight that we have Captain Cook on one side for Hull, and leading his men out for Bradford, Captain Peacock. And out he comes, Jamie Peacock. The usual pre-match atmosphere here at Odsal, and all the Bradford Bulls supporters absolutely hell-bent on winning another 2 points for their team. Match referee is Ian Smith. It's a big ask for Hull. 10 years since they won here. Sean McRae hasn't won as a head coach in 10 attempts against Bradford in away matches. Is this his night, Steve-O?
Well, they'll have to get off to a good start, and I'm sure that Brian Noble, the Bradford coach, has made it quite clear that get into them very quickly, get some points on the board if they can. Psychologically, it'll be a great lift for the Bulls, but it'll also set the alarms bell ringing in the heads of the Hull side. They've got to keep their composure if they're going to have any chance here tonight.
They're underway, and Vangenaar will take the first tackle. Good chase from the kick-off by Hull, as you would expect. And this now is Price. Leon Price. Centre field. Plays the ball to Aaron Smith. Driven in by Logan Swan. Good tackling by Ewan Dowes and Richard Swain.
Good play there from the youngster Aaron Smith. It's a big night for him. Robbie Paul, of course, on international duty. He gets his opportunity tonight. And if he can handle it, it's going to be a big ask against the New Zealand international Richard Swain.
Deakin's kicking will be so important tonight. That's a high hanging kick. Oh, and it's a fumble, and it's a knock-on. First by Bradford, then by Hull, rather, then by young Carl Price. Briscoe couldn't take it in, and if Carl Price had taken that, he'd have been over the line.
Not only that, first time he touched the ball, nice effort. If he could have got it down, he was only an inch away from getting the 4-pointer.
And a right smile also from Stuart Fielden in that incident as well. Here comes Leon Price. Tackle this time by Briscoe, helped out by Chris Chester. They come down the right channel with Vangenaar. You have to be really in the face of Bradford, but he spins away so effectively, Vangenaar. And here comes Fielden on the charge.
Good defence, though. Equal to the task. Good effort from the prop forward, Ewan Dowes.
Early moments of anxiety for Sean McRae. Leon Price steps round one challenge. Can't get away from the second man, though, Colin Best.
Well, he beat the first man, really should have looked for an offload there. They had the overlap out wide.
And the kick wide again, another tester for Richie Barnett Jr. He comes up with it this time.
What a great take. What a magnificent take there under pressure from Carl Price. Gonna be a big battle that tonight.
Yes, two youngsters, two likely lads for the future. 17-year-old Carl Price, 22-year-old Richie Barnett Jr. And now Bradford penalised for not standing square as we take a look at Richie Barnett Jr.
Well, the message has got through to the officials. Brian Noble won't be too happy with the start of the season. You know, the officials, the referees were really clamping down on anything at untowards near the play the ball area. It's okay if they do it throughout the season, but sometimes they lapse in that department. Richard
Swain, infield it goes to Cook, and that's a heavily bandaged thigh for Ewan Dowes. 3 tackles made by the Bradford defence. Swain again, and it comes to Cook, and he steps and tries to go round Jamie Peacock. Helped out in defence also there by Aaron Smith. Now there are opportunities here, and it could be over for the first try. A good drive in by Kirk Yeaman. He's held up though, says the referee.
What a great effort by the centre, Yeaman.
And it's come back here and play the ball, because when they're held up over the line this year, inside the set of 6, the tackle count just continues. That's a good stab to the in-goal, but it just ran too deep, and Withers polices it over the dead ball line. Early chance then for Hull.
You made it quite clear that the key game tonight, this is the one where Yeaman couldn't get the ball down. They did exceptionally well. Carl Price making sure that couldn't offload or couldn't get it down on the terra firma. But that would have lifted their spirits. Bradford a little bit lax in the defensive department on that tight blind side.
Reardon making a couple more metres on the knees. Pass then to Fielden from Smith.
Once again, we see the Bradford style, very flat attack.
This is Peacock.
Just watch for Aaron Smith. He'll take a couple of steps and then give the prop forward. Virtually flat pass, isn't it?
This is Van Genaar. That's the last one. Here's Deacon, and it's another tester for Richie Barnett. They're peppering him early, and he's come up with an error. That's 2 out of 3.
Try to convince the Merry flag waver, but no doubt in my mind that Richie Barnett Jr. has certainly got fingertips to that first. He knows he's in for a big night, but it'll turn around because I'm sure that Hull will pepper Carl Price. It can be a cruel game, can't it, Eddie?
It can be. You spot a weakness or a perceived weakness in your opposition and you try and exploit it. And this is Shontaine Harpy trying to do that against Colin Best. Got the pass away, but it was forward and a knock on anyway.
Well, he has this wonderful ability, this fella, Shontaine Harpy, to offload with one hand. We've seen him a couple of times this season. Just tried to force it under a lot of pressure. Maybe would have been suited. Brian Noble may get the message out, say, hey, come on, not too much fancy work. Get through the hard graft first.
So Hull get the head and feed at the scrum because of the forward pass or the knock on. Ian Smith said, the referee, you can take your pick.
Interesting move there when Hull were packing down. Loose forward Chris Chester. He peeled away, picked the ball up. Richard Horne had gone out wide.
Penalty against Logan Swan. He was all over the back of Shane McMenemy. Logan Swan, Super League debut against St Helens on Easter Monday. And Brian Noble, not terribly impressed.
Well, it's easy within the rules, Eddie. It's not hard. Once you've done the tackle, you're supposed to roll away, not go over the top of the man, not go in the same direction, but roll to either side.
This is Richard Horne. Richard Swain. And on the run is Paul McNicholas. Referee calling at the players of both sides, as he does all the time. Good pass then from Horne, found Chester. Swain scuttles into dummy half, goes off on a little run. It's the ball away.
Carvel did well then to take that. That was just dipping in front of him.
Last tackle, it's with Horne. And there's a kick, and that, I'm afraid, is too deep. Too deep from Richard Horne, just not quite getting the sight set, and a little shake of the head from Sean McRae. 7 minutes gone, 0-0.
He looked a tad upset, did Mr. McRae, and rightly so. It always amazes me why some of the visiting sides don't utilise how the Bradford do. We often talk about how the corners in each of the field in goal area goes up, and yet the opposition don't seem to utilise it, do they?
Offside against Hull, moving up too quickly.
Well, he's made his mark now. He's made his mark as Ian Smith, and rightly so. Carvel made no attempt to come back to 10.
Huge pitch markings here, advertising the fact that the Bradford Bulls and the Rhinos of Leeds coming to this stadium at Odsal very shortly, and yesterday the Bulls announced that that match will be all ticket when it is staged. So they're expecting another huge crowd at Odsal for that particular occasion after the match at Headingley on the Thursday of Easter.
Oh, they want to break that record, Eddie. Don't worry about that.
This is Stuart Fielden, gets to his feet. Aaron Smith, angled run from Carl Price. Sorry, Leon Price. Gonna have trouble with those two tonight. This is Logan Swan. 3 meters short of the line. Smith. Back it goes to Leon Price. And wide again, and this time they're in. Shontaine Harpy.
Beautiful pass. Wonderful rugby league football there. Hard work down the centre, sucking the defence, quick hands out wide. Wonderful, wonderful play. He's a talent, this fella. Look at the 2 long passes. Deacon did everything right. Great to see the 2 halfbacks combine. Watch this. See how it's handled on the angle. And in doing that, when they hang back,
you'll find, see how the defence is running through, but then they hesitate. You can't stop. If you're going to commit yourself, you've got to get right into the faces. Hesitate, and you will pay the price. It wasn't Price, it was Harpy.
3 tries against St Helens on Easter Monday. It was his first ever hat-trick, formerly with the New Zealand Warriors, and Shontaine Harpy on his way again this evening. 4-0 Bradford lead. Paul Deacon's kick to come. Deacon, he played 9 minutes against St Helens, then of course he was stretchered off after the incident involving John Wilkin. Deacon adds the extra 2, and Bradford are ahead by 6 points to 0.
You see the centre, Colin Best, well and truly out of position, right across it. Look at the gap there. Double-decker bus wide. Is in top form.
Shontaine Harpy, first try scorer. Wonder if that has given the members of the British media a little nudge about their choice for man of the match. Early thoughts here now from Dave Hadfield.
Yeah, so there's some interesting ones tonight, Ed, isn't there? How people like Carl Price and Stuart Reardon step into those giant boots on the wing. Whether Colin Best can play as well at centre as he's done as a winger for Hull. And a big night for 2 hookers. Aaron Smith back in the Bradford team, and Richard Swain. What a great night it would be for him to remind the New Zealand selectors that he remains world class in the position.
OK, Dave, we'll talk to you again. 5 minutes to go. And you can then give us the name of the man of the match. Vangenaar driving the ball forward again.
Getting through a lot of work, isn't he? Obviously being told by his coach to get into overtime.
Good kick from Deacon again, but this time just didn't take the slope. It didn't slow up enough. Well, let's get early thoughts now. We've heard from Dave Hadfield. Let's get early thoughts from Phil Clark.
Eddie, I think Hull would be relatively happy. The fact that they defended 2 scrums in the first 10 minutes, just 10 metres from their own line, which is a very difficult thing to do when you're playing against the Bradford side. On both occasions, Bradford couldn't score. But the other thing that we've highlighted with the first try Bradford came up with, and Steve-O just mentioned, the fact that Colin Best, defending in the centre in rugby league, is probably the most difficult position on the field in which to try and defend. And given that task, having played most of the last season and this season on the wing, is a difficult job. One even more difficult when you've got numbers in white jerseys running at you.
Carvell will get to his feet. The Welsh international lost the ball. The referee says play on.
Good refereeing there from Ian Smith.
It's picked up by Stuart Reardon. He bounces off Richard Horne. Horne comes back again with the help of Chris Chester. They eventually bring him down. Not bad for Bradford that Stuart Reardon makes his first appearance on the wing for over a year. The man of the match, of course, in last year's grand final at Old Trafford. It's terrific that you can bring a player of that quality in when you have vacancies for international calls and, of course, injuries. It went backwards through the legs of Johnson. Here's Jamie Peacock.
Much better defence from Hull. Coming in a lot quicker. We've got to be careful not to be caught offside, but this is the main feature, isn't it? Who's going to control the kicking game tonight? He was going for the 40-20, Paul Deacon.
Stopped, though, by Gareth Rayner. And this is Barnett.
Big night, you know, Richard Horne versus Paul Deacon. We mentioned before the kick-off, Eddie, that it's pretty laid down, isn't it, that Brian Noble's going to get the Great Britain job. OK, they haven't rubber-stamped it, but what a great night for Richard Horne to just show right in front of the future Great Britain coach.
Briscoe, someone else who will have Great Britain on his mind later in the year. And Horne, it goes wide, Chester, and further wide to Best. He was nearly away. Last tackle, 40 metres away, though, from the Bradford line here. So it'll have to be another good kick from Horne. It is out wide and high. And here's a test for young Carl Price. He clutches it to his chest.
Did well. Talk about confidence. He knew that there was only one person going to get that ball.
Here goes him. Johnson now for Bradford. Had a new lease of life, Paul Johnson, since he's moved across the Pennines from Wigan. And now Hull, of course, offside.
Mention the fact that they've got to be very, very careful. Just well, they were certainly quick out the blocks. it's a big ask for the captain as well, you know, on either side. You've got to try to marshal your troops and say, you know, one person just lacking in confidence, just forgetting their job, and you get penalised.
Paul Anderson on, that was his first run. Plays the ball to Smith, and here is Carl Price.
Oof. Big hit from Carvel then, he would have felt that one.
Smith again, and Logan Swan. Back to Smith, finds Deacon, wide, into the arms of Harpe. Back on the inside once more, Bradford retain possession with Michael Withers.
Champagne stuff, that.
Harpe fancies it himself, being forced over the line by Withers, being held up though by the Hull defence. And the tackle count again will continue. 10 metres back. No point stopping the game for a scrum these days. Leon Price, back it goes to Anderson. Big job on here for the Hull defence, but they've done all right so far. They've got one more tackle to survive. Deacon stabs the kick through, looking for Carl Price.
Missed it.
Briscoe got a hand to it, but the referee just wants to check. He's asking for the grounding and onside, offside. So Ian Smith thinks this is a try.
Well, he's offside to start with. So it won't be a try, was he? Oh, no, he's back
that's
there.
His brother.
That's his brother, yeah.
With him tonight.
I don't think he's got it down. No, it was touched by a Hull player. This will be the dropout. He's onside, yeah, you're right. That's
Briscoe.
Carl Price.
Briscoe gets the hand to it here.
Yeah, Briscoe gets there first. That's a try saver. Well, inches between Carl Price from scoring 2 tries in the first minute. This will be a dropout. The Hull players they're nestling on the 20-metre mark, but I think this is going to have to be a dropout.
No try. Goal line dropout it is, off the hand of Sean Briscoe, and Carl Price just inches away. As Steve-O said, he could have had 2 tries in the opening minutes here.
Did well there. Sean Briscoe had to as well. Split second earlier, later should I say, and that would have been a
shallow dropout, not the best. Peacock, Bradford back on the attack inside the 20-metre zone. They lead 6-0. In possession here with Smith. Now it's Leon Price. He tries to step through the challenges, nearly did. Smith again, quick play the ball, that by Price. Here is Deacon, short ball, and a chance here for Radford. And he is held up over the line.
Great effort from the loose forward, Chris Chester.
It was Parker, I beg your pardon.
Great effort, neat little inside pass as well.
Anderson now.
They're running hot, Bradford, but full credit to Hull.
Wasn't the best dropout, that's why Bradford are in such an offensive mood at the moment. 10 metres away. Leon again with a kick for brother Carl wide. Richie Barnett, though, clutches it again out of the air. He's standing up well to the test.
They certainly are. But was he taken out, Carl Price? I think Kirk Yeeman may have just nudged him away. If they both... Look how close this fellow went. Bang. But full credit. Spin him over. That's the second occasion. Third occasion, in fact.
Hull then trying just, if they can, to relieve the pressure on their own line a bit and get over the halfway line into Bradford territory again. Paul Cullen watching alongside us. Your early thoughts, Paul?
The only difference between both sides at the moment has been the fluency of the connections between the halves and the 3 quarters. I think Leon Price and Paul Deacon have that edge at the moment over Cook and Horn. Even game on field position, on kick and completion, and on that battle of territory as both sides look to test each other. That sweet connection on that left edge from Bradford has been the only difference.
Bradford caught offside at the play the ball, and an opportunity here for Paul Cook to give Sean McRae some points on the board.
It's a right decision as well. It's been a long time since Hull have had hold of the football, and it was a period where the Bulls were certainly getting the roll on, and full credit to the scrambling defence from the boys in black and white, and this will just take the edge off the supremacy, I suppose you could call it, that Bradford have displayed so far. With 18 minutes of this game gone, I think Hull and Sean McRae will be quite happy that they're only 6 points adrift. Will he make it only 4?
It's his 70th consecutive appearance, Paul Cook. 3 goals here in a 36-22 defeat last August. Paul Cook with first opportunity for points on the board for Hull. He strikes it cleanly, and the flags go up, and Hull are on the board. Bradford 6, Hull 2.
I must say, Bradford's style of play, they really are getting that link going, as Paul Cullen has already mentioned. In fact, that try that Shantae Harpy scored was a typical example of the two combinations of the scrum half and the standoff in Leon Price and Paul Deacon. It was quite superb. But they really have run this whole side off their feet. Will it take its toll late in the game? They've had to struggle back time and time again of Hull.
Well, we have already pointed to the fact that it's not Sean McRae's happiest of hunting grounds, this, but he was Bradford's bogey man at St Helens. Back-to-back Wembley wins, for instance, 96, 97, but he's yet to sample that winning feeling at this Odsal Stadium. Wakefield 6-4 up against Leeds. 10 minutes gone. That match was delayed for 10 minutes apparently. Such was the size of the crowd trying to get in to Bellevue tonight. Wakefield going so well. Leeds, of course, unbeaten at the top of the table. Here, a penalty to Hull.
Well, they weren't offside, it was just a high shot. And Peacock didn't miss either. Such a character, isn't he, the Bradford skipper tonight, Jamie Peacock, and I must say, even though I'd just given him a wallop, he came across, patted him on the back and said, sorry, mate.
Ewan Dowes again for Hull. Oh, good offload, he finds Richard Horn. And Horn, little scampering run, but halted by Peacock. Hull with the benefit of a better penalty count.
That's much better as well. We highlighted the fact that, oh, that's lost it. He's given it.
And it's knocked out of his hand by Leon Price. The call from the touch judge.
2 more points, surely. Yeah, little doubt. Yep, just dragged the left arm away.
Well, that might have been judged to have been a knock-on against Gareth Carvell.
Well, I was just going to make the point that that's a move that Hull have utilised over the last 18 months. And they use a big forward like Carvell running through. It looks as though, and the defence think it's going to be the momentum of a big forward. It just goes across his chest. On that occasion, Brian Noble would have been claiming what you certainly were claiming, Eddie. He did appear to just get a fingertip to it.
Paul Cook then, a couple of minutes ago, he scored the first points. Here's the chance to close the gap still further with the right boot. And about the same sort of area. So he knows what to do, he knows what's wanted. And he obliges once more. 6-4 to Bradford. Hull in danger of being blown off the paddock early, but they really have dug deep. But should this have been a knock-on?
Yep. Now, normally in that move, you raise the arms and the fingertips, and then you pull them down at the last minute. I'm afraid that the prop forward, Carvell, forgot to do that. Got away with it. Added an extra 2 points, and that certainly will steady the ship.
It's a great confidence booster for Hull, Phil Clark, that they're only 2 points behind on the scoreboard.
Yes, Eddie, they've got themselves back into the game on the score, but I think they've also got themselves back into the game in the energy levels. That's fortunately just, I think it went backwards. You see that so often in rugby league games. Somebody makes a mistake like that. There was one in the test match this morning between Australia and Great Britain. I think the ball goes backwards here, off his leg. Well, it's a 50-50 call. The touch judge is a long way away at the time when he makes the decision. Comes off his leg. Forward first, perhaps, maybe, marginally. Tough call. I was going to say they've got themselves back in the energy levels, but that might be depleted right here.
Yes, it's a glorious opportunity for Bradford. And a run from Johnson. It took 2 to stop him. This is Smith. 3 to stop him. Deacon, the dummy half, scheming. Anderson on the charge, and it's come back anyway to Richard Swain. Well, they got their wires crossed there, Deacon and Anderson.
Well, Paul Deacon gave the big prop forward a bit of a mouthful there. Probably on the lines that, you know, you came too early. You've got to wait until I've Got myself positioned in the dummy half.
This is Gareth Carvell for Hull, who beat Wakefield at Bellevue 2 weeks ago to end their long search for an away win. It was their first away win since last year, last May, in fact. Can they make it? Another away victory here tonight at Fortress Odsal. Well, 6-4. It's not been a bad start for them on the scoreboard. Richard Swain waits.
They've had very, very positive field position. This may get it if they can come up with an error.
Michael Withers for Bradford Bulls. Chased down by Colin Best.
You've also got to ask the question that can Bradford, after this early onslaught, they were in control of it. We often see that, don't we? A team that looks as though they're just going to go over. We have Paul Cullen, our guest tonight. He'll vouch for that. They were all over Wigan in the semi-final, didn't come up with it. And it's going to be a big ask now whether they can do it, but this guy has got all quality, hasn't he?
Shontaine Harpy halted by Briscoe's tackle, but 18 metres away, and it's with Deacon. He showed it to one, he gave it to Leon Price, who's given it to Peacock, who has dropped the ball again. And Brian Noble just wipes a little bit of sweat from his forehead. And I don't think he'll be terribly impressed with what he's seeing at the moment.
Well, he will be impressed with the way that they are shifting the ball from one side to the other, but I reckon it's time for Brian to send out the message, say, OK, forget about what we started with. Let's just roll up the sleeves. Let's get through a bit of hard work. Let's make sure our kick and chase is solid, and then just wear them away. They're making the breaks. That's the big problem for Sean McRae.
They are making the breaks, and they're in there on the scoreboard, Paul Cullen, aren't they?
Hull can take some psychological advantage from the fact that Bradford are having some very, very decent field position and possession at their end of the field and not coming away with the points. And maybe that just weighs on the Bulls' mind. They are far better going from right to left at the moment than they are from left to right. And they just have to dig in here at the moment, Hull, and maybe come away with something that'll be very, very important if they do so.
It's opportune that Paul is with us tonight because he's getting a close-up look at the Bradford Bulls ahead of the next match you can see on Sky Sports in midweek. This is Warrington against Bradford next Tuesday night. It'll be live with us, an extra match. We have, of course, the match at Salford involving Warrington tomorrow. We have some great games coming up over the next few days. Salford, Warrington. Paul tomorrow, Saturday, 6 o'clock, Sky Sports 1. And then we'll be back at the new stadium in Warrington on Tuesday night for the visit of the Bradford Bulls. Where's the notepad, Paul? Have you got any notes on your pad? Anything there?
Well, one thing that strikes me very, very quickly, you've got to be in the frame with Bradford past the 24th minute mark. I've been 24-0 down at this point, and you might just need a little bit of luck, and Hull have got good ball and good position.
They have, and they have Colin Best, and that was an important ankle tap by Withers, but he isn't stopped. Now he is by Stuart Reardon. But Hull suddenly have a belief, and here comes Paul King just on the field.
Well, it's a poor kick to try to get it away, well charged down, and it's been a rarity for the Hull side. Now they've got to make sure they can capitalise on it.
Best again is wrestled to the ground by Logan Swan. Chester, and Dowse skips away from one challenge. He's collared by Parker. Richard Swain, 4 tackles gone, 2 remaining this set of 6 for Hull. It's with Richard Horn. It comes wide to Cook, and that's a great ball to Yeaman, and Yeaman's in.
Did he lose it? He did. Well, he can't believe it. Kirk Yeaman's diving for the line.
Well, that looked like he plonked it over.
He lost it in midair.
Oh, he was just short. It was a wonderful tackle from Johnson. And a great decision from Ian Smith. He didn't have to refer that on to the video ref.
Well, he was in a good position. Tried to reach out. Under a lot of pressure there.
Great ball. Here goes Deacon now. Bradford trying to respond. Trying to
It's more of a grab. It wasn't malicious, I'm sure. It was a grab. He was going one way. Paul Deacon was going the other. And fair credit to Paul Deacon. He could have laid down. It was definitely high, and it needs penalising. But you can see one's going one way. More of a grab. Either way, it would have hurt. And Paul
Second match
Deacon
in a row for Paul Deacon.
But fair credit to Deacon, you know. There's a lot of people in many sports, they would have just been spark out that could have actually got him sent off, and it didn't deserve a sending off. Definitely a penalty.
Which Deacon has recovered sufficiently enough to take. It was a lunge. It was careless. And it got the penalty for Bradford, and that's why Anderson is in possession here as he plays the ball to Smith on the 20-metre line. He finds Deacon, and then it goes infield again to Parker. Smith, dummy half. Up the middle goes Logan Swan, flick out the back door to Leon Price. Leon Price helps it on to Johnson. Back it goes again.
Well, this whole defence is being stretched from all angles.
Johnson again.
And full credit to their fitness. They're somehow getting back.
Smith once more. Here is Peacock. 3.5, 4 metres maybe on the last tackle, away from the Hull line. Some width from Smith to Price, and then to Deacon. Then a little kick through, looking for Withers. But it was all tidied up at the back there by Hull. And here is Gareth Rayner now.
Well, good thinking. They could see that Hull's defence was moving up quickly. Nothing better than to confuse them than just have a little bit of a dig in behind the first line of defence.
Richard Swain for Hull. Ewan Dowers plays the ball to Swain. Good defence here from Bradford. Hull still deep in their own half of the field. Lupton, though, good ball. Found best. Important tackle from Deacon. Here's Richard Horne. Richard Horne down the line. One for he himself to chase. But picked up, though, by Michael Withers, who immediately offloads. And here now comes Stuart Reardon.
Needs a quick play of the ball. Hull are just struggling to get back.
Price, Leon Price.
Look at the advantage again. Just because they played the ball quickly, that's going to be a penalty. He's all over them. And I think he's very lucky, the prop forward Ewan Dowes, that he's not on his way to 10 minutes in the sing bin, because this to me looks like a professional foul.
Well, you take your pick, Dowes or King, to be fair.
Could have gone that way, fellas.
Well, Dowes was hanging on. You can see him, and well, I think they're very, very fortunate.
Make sure you get 2 feet.
I think he knows it as well, Sean McRae, that in a very good attacking position.
The two coaches there, Brian Noble and Sean McRae, the only men to have ever won Super League and Challenge Cup doubles. Noble last year, the first via the grand final route.
Interesting.
Sean McRae in his St Helens days.
Interesting the respect that the Bulls are giving their opposition, going for the 2 points. Usually when they're on the roll, they like to turn the screw a little bit further.
Deacon gives it another good thump, finds the correct height and distance. 8-4 Bradford.
Well, maybe the message has got out. Well, Bulls happy. Moving on to the lead, but maybe Brian Noble really has. There's my old friend, Jimmy Lowes. Wouldn't be the same, would it, rugby league without Jimmy? Not surprisingly, he's got a little microphone set up to him. No doubt a few words will be passing through the former hooker's lips.
Good drive forward again by Parker. Yeah, Radford. No, it was Parker. There's Reardon going in at dummy half. Smith plays the ball to him. Smith again.
Well, once again, Bradford, they're asking the question. But this whole defence is getting back time and time again.
But it'll be a test of their fitness later on. Johnson. Good strong run again on the last.
Good defence.
Leon Price, dummy half.
Good defence from Kirk Yeaman there.
Can't get the ball away. Yes, he can eventually. And it gets itself to Deacon, whose kick will run. Will it? No, it won't. Job for Best to do, and he does it. Well, he delayed and delayed, hoping that ball would run dead.
Where was his feet? I think it was just in the in-goal area there. And sadly, Bradford were a little bit... now then, where does he pick the ball up? Ooh, just in time. Just made it. what would we do without that wonderful camera work, Eddie?
Well, there are some new fans on the terraces, I think, by the looks of things.
No relative, Eddie.
Richard Swain. Richard Horne. And Leeds have now taken the lead against Wakefield at Bellevue. Bradford 8-4.
Great kick and chase. They'll be lifted by this performance. It looked in the early part that was hit by that should be back to 6. Maybe it was not touched, but certainly grabbed the arm.
This is Withers now for Bradford. Couldn't get away from Danny Hill. He made his debut at Wakefield 3 weeks ago. The local boy making good.
Another quick play of the ball. That's what Peacock wants, and there again shows you how easy it is to get over that advantage line. But yet again, you've got to admire this Hull defence. It's unbelievable.
That's a big test here for Barnett. Oh. And when he flings the ball infield, he knew he was going over the line. Carl Price is hurt, by the way, as Briscoe runs this out from his own goal line.
Oh, his foot was on the line. Not seen by the touch judge. They've got away with that. You could see that the toe of the boot, certainly on the whitewash.
This is a massive, as they get a relieving penalty. Phil, I was just about to say to you, it's a massive test of Hull's fitness later on coming up, I think.
It is. Bradford are very good at playing the waiting game, really. Their patience is fantastic. They know that if they dominate possession and field position, eventually if you force your opponents to have to defend, they just can't live with you really in the energy stakes. And Hull are doing remarkably well. It's a real test here now, but they just need some magic from somebody here now to sort of give them some joy. They need their own goal line dropout because they haven't spent long enough in this game attacking their opponent's line.
Richard Swain, a wonderful mazy run. Halted by Smith and eventually by Withers. Gareth Carvel. The pass to Richard Horne, it goes further wide and wide again.
Again, a beautiful tackle by Paul Deacon.
Danny Hill was so nearly in then. Here's Richard Horne again. It nearly opened up for him. Good job that around the ankles it was Lee Radford. Last tackle here for Hull. A stab to the in goal and picked up by Withers. Palmed it up in the air and eventually got it.
Well, I think Sean McRae will be disappointed with this.
Lupton's little kick in it was.
Well, they're always disappointed, mainly due to the fact that, remember, Carl Price has picked up an injury. He's gone back onto the wing. If you get a guy that's injured, he's still a bit dazed, you put him under pressure. They failed to do that. You've got to be thinking all the time. He's not 100% Carl Price, and what do? They kick down the middle instead of the wing.
Oh, good hit. Terrific tackle. That was by Kirk Yeaman, and Johnson felt that. Leon Price with a kick downfield. Oh, straight through the legs of Briscoe. Stuart Fielden's hurrying after him. Fielden closes him down. Well, Briscoe loses a bit of momentum with that fumble.
Big problem there when Briscoe did allow that ball to go behind him, but Hull were very slow to come back and try to help the fullback. There was no chance that he could get the ball away with a pass.
Good run from Paul King. Danny Hill, it was.
Paul Cullen, I guess, I've been stating the fact that this Hull defence, well, they've gone through the mire, haven't they? They really have worked hard. They'll get a relieving penalty here, but surely it's got to tell in the second half.
One thing I've noticed, Eddie, and it's an eye to how, and possibly when we play Bradford next Tuesday on Sky Sports, that I've noticed the Bradford props rotating more often in this game than I've seen them all season. You know, their big men have been on and off the field at 10 and 15-minute intervals, and to be honest, it's not just an eye on the game coming on Tuesday. They need it in this match because Hull are now beginning to gain some ascendancy and putting the big Bradford guys on the back foot.
That was a run from Paul King. Richard Swain. Here's Richard Horne. Lupton's wide of him, and Lupton scrambled to the deck. Danny Hill waits at dummy half. Here's Richard Horne again. Back it goes. Carvel with a drive. They still have a couple of tackles left in the bank, Hull, with Swain, and now Richard Horne and Briscoe. Great try for Hull.
Beautiful delayed pass. worth the admission money alone. Well, they were threatening, and all it needed was good field position, and they certainly have that. It was a penalty that they conceded way down the field. Oh, beautiful pass. Richard Horne just held it up to perfection. Come to daddy. Nobody touched him. Not even a mosquito would get close to this fella. That was a wonderful, wonderful effort. Oh, gladdens my heart to see rugby league played like that. Doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes the simplest of things can get the reward. And Briscoe certainly has done that. This has turned the game well and truly on its head.
And Briscoe, signed from Wigan during the closed season, and a great acquisition for the early birds. And Paul Cook now, he has been faultless, and all of his kicks so far tonight have been from this area of the field, so he knows what's needed. It's 8-all, this kick for a 10-8 lead for Hull as we approach half-time. And he has missed it. He was just a little nonchalant then, was Paul Cook.
Look at this, how he just sucked in the big second row. Jamie Peacock. That's a GAP for a TAA. Beautiful TAY.
Well, you can only spell one three-letter word, Steve-O.
How do you say tar? Tar.
It was Tatar.
But
And,
that was unbelievable.
Try.
Oh, great stuff.
This is Gareth Rayner now. He fancies showing something. Lovely dancing little run, but not too many metres forward, all across the face of the field.
Well, they'll be happy, Hull, just to close this down, going into the sheds at half-time. Level pegging. Oh, and there's a big problem for Jamie Peacock. He's collided with somebody. He's down in back play.
Meanwhile, this is king for Hull.
Not surprised that people are going down like that. I mean, this has been a rough encounter. Some big hits out there.
Clash of heads, I think, as Hull maybe will have time for one more play the ball if they're quick, and they can. And they're happy to go in at half-time, all square. Peacock will need some repairs during the half-time interval. Peeled away. That's painful. And the captain for the night will take some running repairs in the dressing rooms. Well, it started off and looking like Bradford were going to absolutely put the cleaners through Hull, but Briscoe's try means it's 8 apiece at half-time.
Sunday.
2 big games and the title could be won live on Sky Sports.
First to Newcastle.
Why Chelsea must not lose.
Then to White Hart Lane.
A win for Arsenal and they could clinch the title.
And there's more.
The stars of Real Madrid look to go top again against Barcelona. A day of destiny live on Sky Sports 1.
With air conditioning, ABS, CD player, alloy wheels, plus a whole lot more. The generously equipped Focus Edge from 11,495. Pass it on.
Now at Pizza Hut, we'll deliver a large pizza and all this for just $12.99 with a gigantic 2-litre bottle of Pepsi free. Hot and on time, guaranteed.
A Season of Opera on DVD is a collection of the most famous operas. Part 1 includes La Bohème starring Pavarotti and La Traviata with Georgiou and Sholti for a fantastic price.
Free serve is changing into something bigger and better. Wanna-do.
Welcome to the month. May's entertainment CD-ROM from the Sunday Times. Be one of the first to sample the brand new album from Prince. And 120 tracks from May's biggest albums. Preview 9 spectacular films and our exclusive 30-minute feature on The Day After Tomorrow. It's simply too big to miss.
The ING Direct Savings Account gives everyone the high rate of 4.5%. There's no hassle, and there are no catches. That's why we're the world's leading direct savings bank. Call now or go online. ING Direct. It's your money we're saving.
We have the next Super League match for you on Saturday evening at 6 o'clock on Sky Sports 1. Salford City Reds up against the Warrington Wolves. We'll be there, as I say, 6 o'clock, Sky Sports 1. And then 2 matches from Australia this weekend as normal. Live, Canberra against Newcastle, Saturday at 10:30. And then on Sunday at 10:30, but on Sky Sports 2 this time, the Dragons and the Roosters, and all the tries scored from Australia this weekend. Here at Odsal, Bradford Bulls 8, Hull 8. Try apiece, 2 goals apiece. Level pegging here, and Brian Noble, we saw 1 or 2 shots of him in that first half where he was a little frustrated at the way that things were going. Not a bad completion rate though, 14 times they've held on to the ball, 17 times in possession. And a pretty low error count as well, and 114 tackles made by the Bradford Bulls. The Hull statistics will be interesting to see as we take a peek inside this dressing room where Sean McRae has never produced a winning speech at half-time before. Well, 13 times they have completed from 17 in possession, but it's the tackling that could be important later on. Well, that's amazing. They've done 6 fewer tackles than have Bradford in that first half. Lies, damn lies and statistics. Well, Hull looked as though they were having to tackle their hearts out in the first half, the opening moments of that first half, but those stats tell you that it actually is Bradford who've been doing a lot more work in that department, and maybe it will be Bradford that will tire late on in the game. Well, let's get the view of Paul Cullen, who is here. He's on a very special spying mission because Paul will be in charge of the Wolves against the Bulls next Tuesday on Sky Sports.
Well,
You've got a huge dossier now.
Well, we have, and I'm sure that'll be returned when everyone sees us take on Salford this weekend as well. But you know, could it be any closer? 8-all at half-time, and I think that the difference in the game has been the penalties conceded by Bradford. They have gifted some very, very good field possession to Hull, who have turned them round and been very, very patient, just pushed them on the back foot, and turn those big Bradford forwards around. If you sit back and let them play, and invite them to run all over you, then they will do. They don't really need a second invitation, and that's where Hull have been smart, been very thorough, been very disciplined, and they just have the edge at the moment on that discipline. Not with the high shots or any nonsense, just one or two infringements at the play of the ball that the referee or the officials haven't missed, and it's just taking the pressure off that Hull line. And again, psychologically, I think Hull will come out of that first half a little bit better. Their line was battered, and they held it. Bradford just didn't push it home.
And, you know, when you look at it early on, it looked as though Bradford were just going to run Hull ragged because Hull couldn't get hold of the ball for the first 10 minutes.
Now, who knows what luck is in sport, and that first touch from the young winger Price could have scored with his first touch at this level in this game, and it just went away from him. His concentration wasn't perfect. It was a fraction off, and that's all that was needed. This game is won or lost by fractions.
Absolutely. It's such a thin dividing line between success and failure. But I'll tell you what, Steve-O, it's a bruiser, isn't it, out there?
Oh, is it ever? I'm glad I'm up here, that is for sure. But I'm sure that Brian Noble will be a little bit disappointed. We pointed up to the fact before the kick-off that Bradford would throw everything at this Hull side. And the combination here, the two passes from the two halfbacks, Leon Price, Deacon, well weighted to Shante and Harpy, and it looked as though they were just going to run away with it. Maybe psychologically they thought they should. It could have been oh so different, couldn't it, if this had been given. Wonderful work from Sean Briscoe. Absolutely just fingertips before he gets them. And then it was Yeeman. They started to build in confidence. They started to get good field position. And how close is this? He's having a big game, both in attack and defence, only about 6 inches short. And then the pass from Richard Horne. This is perfect. Great positioning by Sean Briscoe, who was a try saver at one end and scored the try at the other end. And I'm sure that Brian Noble has got plenty to say. Sean McRae, he'll be happy because the only thing that he'll be worried about is the fact that most of their defence, okay, Bradford have it on the stats that they've done more tackling, but most of the defence that Hull have had to do, they've had to trail back sometimes 20, 30 metres at a time. So it's going to be interesting what happens in this second stanza.
It will be interesting, and if you talk to Sean McRae about his poor run of results here at Odsal, he will actually point to the fact that in 2003, when Bradford won by 48 points to 24 and when they won by 36 points to 22, until a long time within the match, Hull were really in it and they had the sniff of glory in 2003. Phil Clark, they've got more than a sniff of glory here in 2004, haven't they?
They have, in the way that I've seen them play this season. They've got a great deal of mental toughness. They hang in there on the tough times and they take their opportunities, as we saw with Briscoe's try towards the end of the half when they're there. But the reason why maybe your perception was that they'd had to do it so tough was really the kicking game that Bradford employed. Paul Deacon and Leon Price are excellent kickers of the ball with their accuracy. On a number of occasions they put the ball into difficult areas, and dealing with pressure is really what drains you in sport. It's what will, I would have imagined, drain the Hull side. Time and time again they were short and high accurate kicks. There was a chance when they almost scored. Here's a kick into the in-goal area, and again Deacon's ability to put the ball almost within an inch of where he wants the ball to stop is an absolutely amazing ability that he has. Here again a crossfield kick, and it's that pressure which Hull handled very, very well, you have to say. Time and time they got out of the in-goal area and defended themselves with tremendous credit. Here on the fifth tackle play, kick again, they've got enough bodies in the right position to deal with the kick that comes through. That really is a testimony to the work and the preparation they've done, but that does drain you. Be interested to see whether we can go for the full 80.
Yes, important 40 minutes coming up for both sides, the champions from Bradford and the men from Hull. It's that up and at them defence, Paul Cullen, that could be the key to victory for Hull.
Hull just really need to stick into this game, Eddie, and make sure they don't allow Bradford to dominate these opening stages. And, it's no secret that Bradford usually blitz sides and wipe away the game, then hold on and blow you apart at the later stages of the game. Possibly uncharted territory for Bradford at Odsal, not to be well in front, and that's a big ask for them.
Okay, 8-8 it is here. You might have heard me say that up at Bellevue they have been a little bit behind us because they had to delay the kick-off for 10 minutes. Well, it's reached half-time and Leeds ahead 14-6, but not the massive half-time scoreline against the Wakefield name that some people might have expected, with a couple of injuries to Rooney and David Wrench. But the league leaders going well at Bellevue for all of that. They are just ahead here at Odsal. it's all square. It's 8 points apiece. We saw one draw in Super League not long ago. Are we in line for another?
For the next week, we're going to ask that you convince your friends, family and work colleagues that you have won the lottery, when in actual fact, you've not won a penny.
The all-new series £1 Million Hoax starts 9 o'clock Sky One Sunday.
Starting tomorrow, The Sun is giving away 4 classic movie DVDs starring Alec Guinness, Sophia Loren, Richard Harris, Laurence Olivier, Gregory Peck, and Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice, The Boys from Brazil, Raise the Titanic, and The Cassandra Crossing. No tokens to collect. Get one of these full-length classic movies free on DVD every day, starting tomorrow and next week, only with The Sun.
Chassis talks in an attraction just in this week's split tailgate. Sprocket residual metallic cat. Speedo tacker.
And although they have just one win at Super League level against the Bulls in 16 meetings since they gained promotion in 1997, they will have the sniff at half-time that this could be their night.
Well, I'm sure that Sean McRae would have said to his players, if we can hold Bradford in the first 15, then the doubt will certainly set in, the Bulls. And then maybe they can just get good field position and snatch it.
Well, they're in possession. First use of the football in the second half. Our Hull. And that's a drive forward by Gareth Carvell. Swain clapping his hands, the dummy half. And he was shaping to pass to Paul King, then took them on himself down the right channel. Fielden and also there Peacock, who looks as though he's fully recovered from the bang in the eye he got right on the stroke of half-time.
Been a bit of a problem.
Chris Bridge on for Carl Price.
Been a bit of a problem, Eddie, for Bradford is that in and around the play the ball area, the first and second markers not as sharp as they should be.
High kick was easy for Michael Withers. Reedon dummy half, and too quick out of the mark, Hull.
Well, Michael Withers thought that they should have got the penalty a little bit earlier, and you can see that man again, Gareth Carvell. Sean McRae's got to get the message out that, you know, at least try to get back the 10. Most referees, if you make an attempt and get somewhere near them, they'll let it go. You know, half a step forward, maybe, but when you refuse to go back,
Well,
that
was like the dog's hind leg, wasn't it, that defensive line? They're going down the short side here. Johnson. Important tackle made by Yeeman, and he's put in some of those tonight. This is Logan Swan. He pops the ball up again. Deacon, they go long. And he finds Radford. And Radford taking them on. And Gareth Rayner having to come up with a tackle. Shantaine Harpy. Here's Leon Price. He pops it up. The angled runner is Fielden. Thought about standing, tried to stand and offload, couldn't get rid. Smith, Price straightens it up again, flicks the pass, try, and it's Paul Deacon. Try at the start of this second half is exactly what Brian Noble wanted, and exactly what the Bradford fans wanted as well.
Good
right
play.
Next to the sticks.
Good play, worked on the left-hand side. They're happy too. So is he. Just what the doctor ordered for Brian Noble and his Chargers. Doesn't often take on the defence, you know, Leon Price. In the first half, he was more concerned in just getting the ball out wide. It was the combination that created the first try for Shantae Harpy, but the combination of the two halves again, that's a wonderful step. You know, Leon Price has got so much quality and class, and sometimes it just appears to go into his shell. He's got it all.
Deacon's 2 from 2, should be 3 from 3, and it is. And Bradford have established a 6-point lead as Deacon, worryingly for Bradford, just limps his way back to the halfway line. Bill Arthur's got some injury news, I believe, from the dressing room's half-time, Bill.
Well, you're right, Eddie, that looks worrying for the Bulls as well with Paul Deacon. It seems to be his right knee that he's struggling with at the moment. The word on Carl Price is that right at the end of that first half, he tangled with Richie Barnett Jr. and came off second best. There he is. He's had 5 stitches in that lip. He's also a little bit groggy, so I'm not sure whether he's going to be just sitting out the remainder of this game. Brian Noble certainly will be happy to see that try posted early on in the second half. He wasn't a happy coach at half-time. I think his side's indiscipline was causing him a bit of anguish. Not so much their indiscipline, but also 1 or 2 of the decisions that went against them. And up until then, Sean McRae was very happy with the defensive effort from his side and the way they've made life very difficult for the Bradford Bulls. They've got to try and get back to that pattern.
That's a great offload then by Logan Swan.
Good support as well from the hooker Aaron Smith.
It's an important phase of the match here for Hull because Bradford started like this in the first half, but they couldn't blow Hull away. They're trying to here with Reardon.
Beautiful long pass out wide. It was okay, looked a bit forward perhaps, but it was that wonderful momentum rule.
Withers. Oh, and Withers trying to slip the pass, and he's gifted the possession back to Hull, and Paul Cook dropping on the loose ball.
Well, I'm surprised that they went for the panic option. They've just scored a try. They know that Hull are on the ropes, in a good position to be able to utilise the likes of Paul Deacon. A little dink into the in-goal area, get a successive set of 6.
Paul King wasn't tackled, now he is. Richard Swain, centre field. Richard Hall attacking the line, and Logan Swan, Lee Radford, and Aaron Smith getting to him on the last. Good defence here from Bradford. Only 23 metres made. A few more metres going to be made here though by the kick. That's a terrific kick. Great kick from Peter Lupton. Down to Bill briefly again.
Paul Deacon is at the moment just signalling to the Bradford bench that he still has a problem, and I think it's the right ankle that is causing him some trouble, and he's just signalled that he'd like a word with the physio, but there doesn't seem to be much response at the moment. I think they're just suggesting that he might like to try and run it off.
Well, he's about to feed this scrum. It came about because of Lupton's fine kick down the line. And here is Withers. Wrestled to the ground. Good defence again though from Hull. Tenacious stuff from Richard Swain. Peacock.
Got through a lot of work with the second row, Jamie Peacock, in the first half, and Brian Noble just changing, just fine-tuning a few things.
Banganar.
Both the second rowers running out wide. You saw Peacock there on that short blind side as well.
Fielder. Oh, what a collision. Well, I'll tell you what, Paul King won't take a backward step. That's a knock-on. That was unfortunate, because if Richard Horn had taken that in, he was over the line up the other end.
Shut the gate. And Withers is a very relieved man. He's had a fine game so far, Richard Horn, none better than that delayed pass.
What a collision, though, between Fielden and Paul King.
Oh. It's just like putting your head in a bowl of custard. He just came out as though there was nothing wrong with it. How soft is that? Bowl of custard. Boom.
Withers on the charge up the middle. Smith waits at dummy half. Looks for the runner. It's Radford. Oh, it's great running from the Bradford forwards over the advantage line. Now they'll give it some width with Leon Price. Back on the inside to Banganar. Good tackle by Richard Swain. And a penalty
Should have got out of the ruck area. That's the reason why Ian Smith, the official, has given this penalty. Well, surely they'll take the 2 on offer right in front. Just stretch
or will they keep the momentum going?
No, I think they'll take the 2. They won't miss this one. Interesting to see how injured Paul Deacon is. Just lost his balance, didn't he? Big fella, Manganar, but you can see there that the hooker, Richard Swain. It's quite a simple rule, but a lot of the professionals often just think about it. They've got to move away and then can't just interfere with the man trying to play the ball. Got plenty of experience, the New Zealander Richard Swain, but I think he's pretty confident this will go over.
Well, Deacon, if he kicks this, it means Hull have to score twice. They do have to score twice. It's 16 points to 8, but he doesn't look well, Paul Deacon, does he? Gingerly making his way back to the halfway line.
Certainly hampered, but...
is it his thigh or is it his ankle?
I think it probably would have been just a twist of the ankle. Remember when he scored the try, it was pretty close to the posts as well. Well, we thought it was going to be Bradford early in the first half. They were going to just absolutely blitz their opposition. And it's virtually a carbon copy as that. Deacon's got the early try for them again, and full credit to Hull. They certainly came back with a vengeance. Can they do it again?
Brian Noble knows that the defeat to Leeds Rhinos over Easter was only the 21st reverse that he has suffered since he succeeded Matthew Elliott as coach in 2001. Phil Clark, that's a really proud record and one he wants to maintain.
Yeah, I can understand he would do too. I think, to answer Steve-O's question there, I think Hull can come back. They can certainly score twice in the remainder of this game. The biggest question is, can they prevent any further tries from Bradford? And we often talk about the size of the Bradford side. I think it's worth important talking about the technique as well. When it comes to tackling, they very often control the ruck area. And when it comes to the running with the ball, they're able to find the floor quickly, get up and play the ball very quickly and quicker than their opponents. And that's what makes them such a difficult side to play against here at Odsal. It's a very hard task here now for the Hull side to match it, because they're unable to take the ball and they'll go forward and gain as many metres as easily as Bradford are.
This is the third tackle that they're on now. No change at Wakefield after 10 minutes of the second half. This is Horn. Last tackle, they're not over the halfway line again. Might be now with Lupton and the kick. It's a high one, and Withers is underneath it.
Far too long.
Oh, and Withers steps away from Colin Best, who does well to recover, to be fair.
Easy made for the quality of Michael Withers at the full-back. Lupton really should have been pushing it away, trying to dissect the full-back and the winger. They need a little bit of a bounce of the ball.
Oh, great offload. And this is Reardon. Look at the quickness that Bradford play the ball. Here's Jamie Langley, only just on.
You can see clearly that Lupton very, very slow to get back.
Deacon still out there. Fielden.
Great defence.
Terrific defence from Carvel. And helped out also by Ewan Dowes. Price gets the kick in. Well picked up by Barnett. By the way, Richie Barnett, he will be 23 next week. There he is, Richie Barnett. 23 on Monday, in fact. Great defence again from Hull. Only 21 metres made. 4 tackles gone. Horn doing his best, and a great offload to Lupton. Back it goes to Gareth Rayner. It's opened up for Rayner. He has Briscoe, and Briscoe's quick. And that's a great Hull try under the sticks. Second try for Sean Briscoe. Fine start to his Hull career for this fellow. The England A international, Sean Briscoe. No wonder Hull snapped him up when Wigan were forced to release him because of salary cap problems.
Wonderful effort here. See how they use the dummy runner through. And Lupton could offload. It left Shantae Harpy in no man's land. Rayner did everything right, drew the full back. Great support yet again from Briscoe. And yes, the black and whites. can fight back. Should have finished him off. They didn't. Neat little offload, wasn't it, from Lupton. And Rayner did everything right to send this fella away. Great fight back yet again.
Great try from Briscoe. You can put it down to the run from Rayner, but what about the offload from Richard Horne? So, from bang in front of the sticks, Paul Cook again with a chance to pull Hull back to within 2 points, which he does. It's 16-14 at Odsal, and Bradford, the champions, having a real scrap for the points here.
Well, they paid the price. Two men trying to turn down Richard Horne, who had the strength and the ability to offload. But what about the inside pass from Lupton that set Rayner flying downfield to set up the try for this fella?
Well, mark them down as two outstanding youngsters. They're both only 21. Richard Horne and the scorer of the try, Sean Briscoe. And they have formed a pretty good understanding even early into Briscoe's Hull career. Richard Horne, of course, has been around for a long time. 140th appearance for him tonight. Outstanding youngster.
I must say full credit as well to Peter Lupton and the Hull coach Sean McRae. Had a lot of confidence in this guy. Never really proved it at London and Leeds, but he's certainly making a mark here.
Big hoof downfield, and Richard Horne is herring after it as well. And Michael Withers allows it to hit the padding around the post, and then, oh, Withers is away. Great run from Withers, 25 metres or more made. And here goes Leon Price, another one up to halfway. 2 tackles, 50 metres gain.
Brilliant play.
Reardon.
Talk about turning defence into attack. It is wonderful to way they watch this Bradford outfit. They really get on with it. The finishing hasn't been all that brilliant so far.
And here's Parker.
But their approach work is second to none.
Harpy. Deacon. Anderson. Over the top of one. That's the last tackle. They've made nearly 90 metres this set. And here is Parker. And there is Langley. And that's another great tackle. Peter Lupton. Well, that was a try saver from Lupton.
Certainly was. Neat little move back on the inside. Numbers on board yet again. It's been amazing to watch how this Hull side have had to drag their bodies back and deny Bradford time and time again.
Paul Cullen, Hull really are digging deep for victory here.
Giving it a great shot, Eddie. Even contest in that middle channel of the field. Both sets of forwards going at each other, hammer and tongue. Very interesting out wide. Tinkering with the 3 quarters, I think is the phrase that I'm looking for. Stuart Reardon has swapped from left wing to right wing. Chris Bridge, normally a half-back, possibly a centre, playing on the left wing for Bradford. And Gareth Rayner and Colin Best continually keep swapping from right centre and right wing. And when that break was made, it was made for the try by Gareth Rayner operating at right centre, and he just caught Bradford on the hop. So both coaches working very, very hard to come up with an X factor, and it was Sean McRae who got it right with that swap.
And so close from Richard Horne. So close to a telling pass, it just went forward.
Well, both sides, the last time they've had the possession, they've both gone for the power play, and that's the reason why Sean McRae, not too impressed. He wanted field position, he wanted a kick there rather than trying to run with the football.
This is Michael Withers.
Good tackle by Richard Swain. They brought the ball back on the inside quite a lot tonight at Bradford, but Hull's defence have been picking it out well.
Oh, great ball again from Deacon, and Johnson was halted by Kirkheim, and that's a penalty.
It could go. He hasn't warned either side. Now then, will they go for the tap? I think they might. Oh, he's going for the 2. Well, that's the incident there. Yeaman all over the man carrying the football. He's had a big night, though. Remember, he went very short, about 6 inches short from scoring a wonderful try, but his defence tonight.
But the tackle there was completed. He didn't need to lift the leg for the second time.
Just lack of concentration. We've seen it a few times, and it's not easy. Frustration comes into it, especially when there's only a couple of points between the two sides. Do they force their hand?
Well, 8 goals for Paul Deacon against Hull here last August. Man of the match in a grand final 2002 against the Saints. Another 2 points here for Deacon. And 18-14, only a whisker between these two.
Bit of breathing space. St George's Day. George flag, the English flag, around the ball.
Well, listen, we have pointed up all night the fact that Hull have this poor Super League record against Bradford, but we also should point out for our viewers on Humberside that in the halcyon days of the 80s, Hull dominated against Bradford. They really did.
Let's have quick play balls. Come on.
And they are giving the champions a real run for their money here. It would be a brave man who could predict the outcome. And Richard Horne is, well, he's doing his very best to get Hull this prized win.
The reason why it's such a keen contest as well is that there's no second-raters out there. There's no one having a bad game. Everybody is trying their best, and it brings about a wonderful contest. It has been one big tussle.
Up the middle they go again with Langley to the halfway line on the last tackle. And Price with a kick to the corner in between Colin Best and Briscoe. And Briscoe's going to have to run this back. Briscoe's going to have to run this back. That's a terrific chase from Bradford. Radford and Shontaine Harpy. And Briscoe, boom, back over the try line.
That's a kick and chase that can win you games. Phil Clark, when you get a kick and chase like that, that really does lift the spirit, doesn't it?
I think that's the play of the day, isn't it? I think the kick and chase is obviously a barometer on how a team's travelling, and you can see the energy, enthusiasm of a side chasing a kick like that to win a goal line dropout from over 50 metres. Just goes to show the skill that they've got. Also think it's a fascinating battle over on the far side of the field from where I'm sat between Kirk Yeaman and Paul Johnson, two outstanding centres who've had a great tussle, denying one another tries and breaks, and putting strong runs and evasive footwork against one another. He'll need all his skill over Kirk Yeaman here now to deny Johnson if they get close to the line.
In the last quarter of the match, who has the fitness to take this on and collect the victory? Aaron Smith. Whoa, great hit again. There was nowhere there for Parker to go. Deacon, and it goes wide to Leon Price.
Looked a
that
bit
was
forward.
Questionable.
Sure was. Delayed it a little bit too long.
Price again. And this is Radford.
Quite content yet again. The ball's just to work that short blind side.
Last one for Bradford. Price.
Oh, they're doing the link.
To Deacon and Langley. And that's a great ball to Harpy, but again, terrific defence. They went for the power play once again, Bradford. Hull's defence tonight has been sensational.
It's unbelievable. They've got back in numbers. That shows a lot of good team spirit.
Colin Best proving that he isn't a bad defender as well as being a pretty good try scorer.
It's amazing to think that Hull are only 4 points adrift, Eddie. When you look at the both sides, the ability for Bradford to go from deep within their own half, they've got over the halfway line easy, and Hull have struggled, yet they're only 4 points adrift.
This is Ewan Dowes. He's featured in 8 of the 9 for Hull this year. He was on loan originally from Leeds, then wrapped up a deal. This is Richard Swain in his first season at Hull. Last tackle, Horne. Horne drives the kick along the ground, and it's got to be run back here by Chris Bridge. Oh, wonderful run.
He's a talent, this kid.
And what an offload as well to Harpy.
He could have done with a bit earlier support as well, Chris Bridge. Ryan Noble has got big raps on this fella. And I think you saw a glimpse of what we can look forward to in the future. Oh!
Another big hit. 22-12. Leeds. 10-point advantage over Wakefield. Great offload again. Langley. Wide to Harpy. Oh, and that was a call of forward. And I'm not sure it was.
It wasn't. But they caught the one before out there and they missed it. Oh, what about the momentum? Nothing wrong with that at all.
Well, it didn't look forward at the time, but the touch judge had other ideas. He gave the call to the referee, Ian Smith. That's why Hull have head and feet at the scrum. Whiting. And as he fell, Rayner got it away to Whiting again. Richard Whiting, the former Featherstone youngster, 19 years of age, plays the ball there to Richard Swain. Here is Ewan Dowes. Back to Richard Swain. Offloading, causing Bradford real problems. Richard Horn.
No second phase, though. Little halfback Horn was looking for someone.
Oh, and the pass was just in front of Paul Cook. And he looks at Richard Whiting and could kill.
Well, it was drifting a little bit away from him, but you expect to be getting yourself in a position there. Paul Cook obviously wanted to go out wide rather than running onto the football. No good shaking the head. It wasn't a bad pass, I didn't think.
Bradford in possession here with Reardon. 4 points, that's all between these two sides. Anything can happen in the last quarter of an hour of this match. Bradford up to halfway again after 2 tackles. Here's Anderson over that halfway line. Good, strong, resolute defence by Hull, though.
Well, we certainly know what Hull have been doing all this week. And those tackle bags up at on the Honda side there, they must be black and blue and bruised.
Deacon. Langley. Haul down by Horn again.
Kicking
Last tackle here.
It's got to be.
Deacon, oh, and he grimaced as he hoisted this kick. It's claimed, it's flicked back. But he says it's 2 knock-ons, and first one means that Hull have possession from the turnover.
And again, the solid Hull defence hanging on. That's the reason why Bradford have only got there. He was losing the football. Never had full control of it. Doesn't matter if it travels forward even half an inch.
Well, have Hull got the petrol in the tank to go on and win this, or can Bradford hold on? Paul Cullen.
Easy call, Eddie, at the moment is that this game will depend on who holds the nerve. I thought we saw...
Oh, what a run here! It's Chester, and it's Briscoe who will get the hat-trick! Sean Briscoe's hat-trick! Level pegging for Sean McRae, and Hull again. Kick to come from under the sticks. And there was a great screen from Terraces for a forward pass. It didn't look forward, and Briscoe didn't hang around. He was in support, and he was over under the sticks.
Well, they just caught the defence. Look how they go, and then held back. Oh, beautiful offload. Did everything right. And Briscoe in for the hat-trick. Super stuff. Don't think the crowd are really complaining about the pass there from Cook. Nothing wrong with that, I am sure. But I think they're complaining about the fact that they brought Bradford back. A couple of tackles previous to this. Oh, beautiful stuff. Chris Chester combining with a standoff Paul Cook. And what a night for this fella. Sean Briscoe. Is he going to have the tick-tock on the wrist?
Well, with a hat-trick, he's got a great chance. But more importantly, he will be thinking of the 2 points they might take home to the KC Stadium tonight. This kick from Paul Cook to edge Hull ahead again. Just composing himself. It's under the sticks. It should be easy, and it is.
And fully deserved.
Bradford 18, Hull 20.
They are stunned. He's not Sean McRae. We mentioned the fact, Eddie, that Brian Noble would have said to the Bradford side, we must score early. They did that, and then they've just fallen apart. Sean McRae was saying to them, if we can hang on for 15 minutes, slowly but surely like we did in the first half, just grind his way back into it. But this will go down as one of the best victories for Sean McRae and the whole side.
They're not home and hosed yet, Steve.
I know, but even so, the effort that they put in defence.
They're ahead, though, for the first time in the match, and we have about 11 minutes, 12 minutes remaining. Can they hang on now? I posed the question to Paul Cullen, who had the fuel. Paul, suddenly Hull have hit overdrive.
Well, I was just about to say before that great break came that put Briscoe away, who holds the nerve will win this game, and that's why we saw the big blow-up between Paul Cook and Richard Whiting not too long ago, because Whiting broke from shape and threw a loose ball to Cook, and Cook was trying to set up the play for the play to break Bradford on the edge. He got it second set around, and Hall had enough to open them up and go in.
Paul, you just get the feeling now, with not long to go to the final hooter, that Bradford have got to start chancing their arm. It looked as though they were in control, and now they find themselves really having to keep this ball alive.
Almost uncharted territory for the Bulls, Mike, and we said that in the build-up to the piece, that Bradford usually blow you away in the early stages of the game, gives them great chance then to open up and use that offload game. They usually offload, though, without the pressure of having to make it stick to make the plays.
Well, the match is there for winning, and at the moment Hull are winning it, but only by 2 points. And this is Langley for Bradford, but this Hull defence has been magnificent tonight.
Well, they must be out on their legs.
Last tackle. Deacon again, a high hanging kick out wide. It's collected by Reid and it's offloaded to Leon Price. Cook's after him, but he still gets the ball away. And another kick. Bouncing unkindly for Rayner, but he did well.
Well, Deacon was hunting there, and Rayner's got a problem. Looks as though he's
and
twisted.
And now penalised, Bradford, not standing square.
Very keen, Ian Smith. See there that
the side by side,
and there were two back, weren't they? And I think there's a problem for it's a bouncing ball, and you can see the leg of Rayner. He's in a bit of trouble. He'll try to run it out. He's having treatment in back play.
Well, he had a tooth out of something earlier on in the week. He had an operation anyway on his mouth, and he was not 100% fit to play, but he decided, or at least his coach Sean McRae did, after a talk to him today, that he would play in this match, and that was an important take right underneath his own sticks. And Hull are not done yet. They fancy their chances. This is Yeeman. Inside the last 10 minutes, they have a 2-point advantage.
Well, Hull are beginning to find gaps out wide. This solid defence from Bradford at times they're going to sleep.
This is Paul McNicholas.
1 point, Eddie?
Well, maybe. No, they're going for more. A dab from Swain. Well, Reardon tidied up, but it's a drop out from underneath their own sticks for Bradford. And this Oxford crowd is strangely quiet.
Neat play by the New Zealander Richard Swain. When you're 2 points ahead, keep the opposition down in their own quarter and then get the ball back.
And they're getting it back in the arms of the hat-trick hero, Briscoe, who gives it to Dowes. Now it's a test of the Bradford defence. 9 minutes remaining. 9 minutes between Hull and a famous victory, not only for the club, but for the coach as well, Sean McRae.
Been a marvellous effort. You would have thought that heads would have gone down, and they're controlling the game.
That's a great ball again to McNicholas, and it needed a good tackle from Peacock, and it was.
Once again, Eddie, they're playing it out wide. He'll go in for all. Good job.
Leon
Price got to him then.
And this is Richard Swain. And he's thinking about the kick, and he's bamboozling the Bradford defence. They held off him. Last one.
Got to be a one-pointer.
Richard Horn, back it comes. And a charge down. Back to 0 in the tackle count. It's now with Dowes. He's heard the call from Ian Smith. He went for the one-pointer. It was Richard Whiting.
No panic, that's what they need.
King.
Just take it nice and steady. Keep camp down in this particular area.
I think they know a try here and they will be going home with the points. Richard Horn, Whiting. Pass then to Chester.
Looked a bit dubious.
Whiting again. Richard Horn attacking the line. Richard Horn.
Oh, so close. Desperation. Jamie Peacock dragged him back.
Paul Cook back to Richard Swain. Here is Chester. This is Best. Oh, he's nearly slipped the net. Colin Bell, he's dropped it.
Well, just at a moment where really they should have been setting up, and they were. Richard Horne was screaming to get into position, and Colin Best comes up with an error.
Well, at least from the whole point of view, it's a scrum, which means a few more seconds on the clock being wound down. Deacon's anxious to feed. Now he does. It comes out the back to Langley, and Langley sets off. Briscoe with a great tackle. Johnson goes wide. Withers.
What a game this has turned out to be.
Good run from Johnson again. He was nearly through Paul Cook. They're over halfway after 3 tackles again. And Leon Price on his knees. Was that touched by King?
Certainly looked it.
The referee says no, it wasn't played at.
Being ignored, it's on the 4th.
Not the best pass, picked up by Bridge. Great tackle by Gareth Rayner. It's the last one for Bradford. And Deacon will hoist the kick again, will he? No, he's slid it through this time. He's after it himself.
Well, that surprised me, and I think it surprised his coach, Brian Noble, as well.
Kirk Eamon doing a good job in tidying up at the back there. Phil Clark, neck on the block time. Who's going to win?
Well, Eddie, you don't become the world champions at anything without having some special qualities, and Bradford certainly have those. They were in a similar position to this just a few weeks ago in a home game against Salford, and narrowly got the win with the class just showing at the end, and maybe a little bit of luck. Maybe luck's not gone their way today, but Hull really do defy the general principles of rugby league. Bradford threw so much pressure at them on their own line, and yet the defence on that was outstanding. Just watching Paul King there urging his teammates at the last scrum to maintain the intensity that they've had in this second half. They'll have to do that because Withers and his teammates are pretty special when under pressure.
Phil Clark alluding to the fact that they just got home against Salford recently. Salford on that occasion had a hat-trick hero as well in the shape of Cliff Beverley. Tonight it's Sean Briscoe who has the hat-trick. And at the moment Hull have the victory, but they have to hang on for 5 more minutes. And Bradford will throw everything at them. And here they come again with Johnson. Leon Price waits the dummy half. Another drive forward by Jamie Peacock.
Once again, the build-up by Bradford is nothing short of sensational, but they just can't get that final pass to get over the line.
It's the last tackle this set of 6. Here's Deacon, it's the kick again, and it's another high one, this time to the other wing, but straight down the throat of Colin Best.
It's a poor one. If there's a problem with Deacon...
Colin Best! There's a chance here for Best. He's quick. Withers manages to get to him and haul him down.
He did the right thing, though. He knew he didn't have the legs. He was out on his feet. Colin Best, he just made sure he kept in the field of play. They'll drive surely towards the sticks. They've already tried one-pointer. Will they go again?
Well, at the moment they're looking for 4 with Paul Cook. He hangs on, doesn't think of the offload this time. 3 tackles gone. Richard Horne, he's away from the first marker, and Richard Horne takes them to within 3 metres of the line.
Surely a drive to the sticks.
No, Yeaman goes the other way.
Oh, they've taken
the last one.
Taking the wrong option there, Eddie. They won't go for the 1-pointer now. They'll try the kick, surely. Oh,
and they went for the power play, and they will turn over, but it's on the Bradford try line.
Why on earth did they go for that? There's only 2 points separating the sides.
There's only 4 minutes left for play.
Yeah,
though.
but the best way to eat it up is put 1 point over.
It's a big test of this Hull defence now, and it's wide to Withers. And Colin Best comes up with an important tackle. The clock ticking down, 3.5 minutes. Chris Bridge looking to respond for the Bradford Bulls.
Well, he's one of the freshest out there because both sides really are running out of petrol.
Smith.
This has been an absolute wonderful match.
Lovely dink over the top by Deacon. He's after it himself. Swooped on by Briscoe. And Briscoe is away. And Briscoe's on his way for a 4th try. And the points will go home to Hull. Sean Briscoe, 4 tries. And Hull have the victory that has been so long in coming for Sean McRae. What an effort from Hull, and this fellow in particular.
Well, I can't believe the option was taken by a man who's...
I don't think he's given it yet. I think he's handed it on to the video referee, has he?
Oh, now then, was he taken out? Was Paul Deacon perhaps taken out when he kick the ball over the top. That's what we're going to have to wait and see. But I can't believe that a man who's been suffering with a bad leg for the last part of this game. No, that's fine. You can both use the shoulders. You can sandwich. It's all shoulders, not one arm came across. This is TRY. Oh, now then, did King just stop? Well, from the front on, the angle that we saw first. But I'm going to go TRY, and fully deserved to Briscoe. What a game he's had.
4 tries to Sean Briscoe. Victory at last for Hull here at Odsal. And Sean McRae has conjured up one of his most famous victories.
They'll be singing Old Faithful all the way on that M62 now, Eddie, and full credit to them. They, like Bradford, are out on their feet. This will go down as one of the heroic efforts in the black and white jumper, and there's been plenty over the years. And the band of Hull fans who have come over were very quiet for certain parts of this game, but now it is the Bulls fans that cannot believe it. They had the game all wrapped up, so they thought. In the first half, it was exactly the same.
It was. Sean Briscoe, the first ever Hull player to score 4 tries in a Super League match. Paul Cook to put the icing on the cake. It's party time for Hull. This has been a breathtaking win. Sean Briscoe's 4 tries. It's 26-18 to Hull here at Odsal, the home of the Super League and World Club Champions. Do we get the gift tag ready for Sean Briscoe, Dave Hadfield, for the watch as man of the match?
Well, we've had a split vote up here, Eddie. How can you go against somebody who scored 4 tries? But that's what we've done. We've gone for Richard Swain. We think he's even been more fundamental than Sean Briscoe to this win. Great in defence. He's organised them superbly from dummy half. He's our man tonight, ahead of a 4-try player.
Richard Swain then is the man of the match on Sky Sports. A tremendous display from the hooker. But it hasn't overshadowed in any way, shape or form the 4 tries from Sean Briscoe, and he will be absolutely delighted. And I think he'll give us a vote of thanks for pointing up before this match that it is 10 visits since he's won here. But Brian Noble won't be too impressed.
Well, the monkey's off his back now, isn't it? And fully deserved. Most Australian coaches, they'll look to all the victories and say it came about by defence, and boy oh boy, there's the man of the match. He's certainly been instrumental. He's guided things in and around the dummy half position, especially in the second half. You take your chances, and boy, hat-trick in the second half for Briscoe.
Well, they're delighted. They are delighted.
And so they should be. This has been one heck of a game. Loved every single minute of this. An enthralling encounter.
And look at Hull, they're still tackling as though the game isn't won, but with 20 seconds remaining and 8 points the difference, it is now. And it's been tenacious. Their form, their tackling has been tenacious. Could have been blown away first half. Instead of that, they have come back and they have won a famous victory. It's a scrum down for a knock-on. There won't be enough time.
No, it'll be all over.
Brian Noble beaten at Odsal. Sean McRae and John Keir, it's all over. 10 visits to the city of Bradford. He's come up empty each time. And the Hull fans will celebrate this victory long and hard. And Bill Arthur is with the victorious coach, Sean McRae.
Well, you've waited an awful long time for this. It must be very sweet.
Well, it's a great effort to beat Bradford anyway. It's particularly sweet personally, but, you know, the effort of the players tonight, I mean, credit goes to them. Preparation was superb. You know, Richie Barnett, unfortunately having to pull out on the day with flu, and, you know, we came here, I think, against the odds again and against a very good side, but you've got to be a good side to beat a good side, and obviously we're tonight.
And what a performance from Sean Briscoe. To come up with 4 tries anyway is good, but here...
I was sitting next to John Keir. John said, oh, that's his hat-trick. When he scored 3, I didn't even realise he scored 3, and then, of course, I'm urging someone on, saying, get to the try line, son, get there, and it was Sean. 4 tries, what a marvellous effort. You know, great support player, great team player, but a great team effort tonight, Bill, and obviously we're delighted.
Well, the hat-trick, the 4-try hero is here. Can you believe that?
Nah, not at all. His dream come true. To score a 4-try, especially against Bradford here. It's unbelievable.
And the key to the whole performance tonight, I think, was that you never threw it in, did you? They went ahead, you came back on each occasion.
We never threw it in, and we believed every minute that we could come here and win. Except for Easter Monday against Widnes, we've been playing like that week in, week out. And I think we've shown today that we are a top 4 side, and we will be.
You've just got to repeat this again and again, haven't you, if you're going to be that top 4 side?
Yeah, consistency, that's all we want. We want to turn a performance like this next week. So let's hopefully we can go to Salford, or Salford come to us and show what we can do again.
Enjoy this one, Sean, well done.
Cheers, Bill.
I think he was looking for the watch. It goes to Richard Swain. Hull's last victory at Odsal came 10 years ago in 1994. The vintage of 2004 from Hull. They didn't win by 32 points to 30. They gave Bradford a real seeing to. Bradford 18, Hull 26. Well done, Sean McRae.